Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Workflows and Espressos. I'm your host, Meaghan, and it is a lovely week. Every week's a lovely week, but actually, this week's been really stressful. So I'm manifesting that the end of the week is going to be a little bit better than it started. But I am really excited because by the time you are hearing this or watching this, if you're watching on YouTube, I am running for the VRMA board of directors, and I have been keeping this a secret for the last, like over a month now, to probably almost 2 months. And I'm so excited. I have been a Verma member, or the companies that I've worked for over the last 9 years have been Verma members. So I've gone to a lot of conferences and have met so many of my close friends within the organization. And this year, especially when I think that Verma experienced a lot of hard times and turmoil, and I really thought long and hard before applying for the board, and I just am not ready to give up on Verma yet, and I have a lot of hope that a new board, as well as some of the old board members can really start to kind of turn the ship around, and just being able to be on the ballot means so much to me. And I am running along with some incredible friends of mine. So I just cannot even contain how excited I am, because I do think that the perception of Verma can change, and I think that we can make a difference on the inside as well and really improve transparent communication and networking opportunities like conferences. So I'm so excited. This is a really cool thing that's happening aside from my wedding. Now I'm going to be talking about this. So if you are the voting Verma member of your organization, vote for me. Duh, obviously. And make sure that you vote at all. Even if you aren't voting for me, just vote, period. I think it's so important. And we, so many of us are a part of this organization, and we spend money to go to conferences every year. We spend money to be members. So let's do what we can to ensure that this association is the best that it can be. So that is the exciting news lately. I haven't had any mites, dog attacks. What else was really bad for a while? No flat tires. It's been pretty good, honestly. Knock on wood. Hold on, now my dog. I knocked on wood, and now my dog's like someone knocked on the door. So yeah, summer is still very much in full swing in Jackson, and a lot of what we really work hard on during the summer for our guests or customers of all of our businesses is to make sure that we're providing the best experience possible so they come back and stay with us again next summer. And as many of you know and are already dealing with this, regulation has just become a daily topic in our lives and is an added responsibility on our already extremely long job descriptions. So we've been facing a little bit of that in Jackson, and new legislation passed about 8 months ago. So today I would like to talk about creating an in-destination experience that will both connect you with your local community and connect your customers with your local community, and also hopefully create those lasting relationships with guests where they keep coming back again and again. I think so much of building a business that is liked in your community in vacation rentals, which can sometimes be the redheaded stepchild and be really hated in our industry, is to really work hard on building strong community partnerships. And so I'm going to share a little bit about our journey today, and hopefully you can pick up some things along the way if you aren't already doing them in your business, to build those local relationships that will connect back to your guests. Or if you are already doing a lot, I would love to hear your feedback so we can include it in a future episode. So I really want to talk about the company that I work for, the Outpost Group, and our evolution over the last 3 years, how we've really engaged our guests in our community and created synergy there, what type of impact it's had, and if it's made a difference for us. And then replicable best practices. So as we always talk about TLDR, if you want to skip to the very end, what are some things that you can implement immediately that will hopefully make a difference in your business? And then I hope you guys write in if you have any questions or suggestions. And then I hope you're very excited for next week because we have two very fun guests coming to the podcast. Okay. So I'm the executive director of the Outpost Group, and we are really a quickly growing holding company. We were kind of in a holding pattern in terms of growth for a little bit, and we just started a new company, so it's been like quickly moving all over again. So the Outpost Group started with Outpost, which is a property management company started in 2014 right here in Jackson with just a couple of properties. And now we have about 260 properties, which is approximately a third of the professionally managed vacation rental homes in Jackson in general. So we're the largest provider of vacation rentals in Jackson and have been doing this for a long time, but it is a very unique community for a lot of reasons, which we'll get into, primarily due to just the location of Jackson, particularly in the winter. It's so hard to get here, and staffing is really difficult because we have a major housing shortage, which, hint, hint, that comes up in regulation conversations, which I'm sure is not shocking to anybody. So after Outpost came O2 cleaning, and we really were struggling to find ways to have new cleaners come in. We had gotten so big that our cleaning provider said to us, like, hey, you're too big for us, that you need to figure something else out. So we were like, okay, we're going to start O2 cleaning. And by we, I mean I wasn't here yet. So the owner of Outpost decided this. Anyway, so we started O2 cleaning, and from there, we just couldn't stop. So there were two incredibly talented chefs, one of them being my fiance now, who had started a business during COVID. And the owner of Outpost decided to buy into the company and begin a partnership where he was providing kind of like the business help and marketing and financial background, along with the chef's incredible like culinary direction and their overall talent. And they started a catering and private chef business, which has really taken off over the last couple of years. Shout out to you, Clark. I love you. And then after Provisions came Terrain. And Terrain was actually a landscaping company that we purchased, and we built on a snow removal model there as well. So Terrain became a landscaping and snow removal company. And this kind of added to this vertical integration that we had going, right? Where all of these different companies were providing services to either the Outpost guests or the Outpost homeowners. And then this is where things get a little crazy. We always provide 4-ounce bags of coffee in our units for every arrival. And the owner of the coffee roasting business, which it's all roasted right here locally in Jackson, called us up and said, hey, I'm thinking of retiring and you're one of my largest customers. So would you be interested in buying our coffee roasting business? And we, having absolutely zero experience in coffee, as you know, I don't drink coffee, decided absolutely yes, we'll buy your coffee roasting business. And then we had a cafe become available in the town square of Jackson, which is a pretty coveted area. So we took over the lease of that building, did a massive renovation, and opened a coffee shop. And most recently, we have purchased a couple of trailers where we are providing, like, selling coffee to people in our library, our local public library. And then we also have a coffee cart at our farmers market. And we have another farmers market on Wednesdays called the People's Market here in Jackson. And then we also have a lot of concert series during the summer. And the trailer is going in the concert series as well and providing espresso martinis. So I think that's 7 businesses somewhere along the way, including the Outpost Group. So along the way, we decided that it would be best if we centralized marketing, finance, human resources, and high level like strategy and operations. And that became the Outpost Group, which is what we all know today as our holding company. And over this journey, this all happened in the last 3 years, we have really had to figure out how to create synergy between all of these different businesses and also really stay incredibly community focused, as we have over 250 employees that we depend on every single day for all of our companies, and they all need to have housing in the community and make a livable wage and be able to buy groceries in the community. And again, we were facing regulation where a lot of that was focused on the vacation rentals, causing a lack or a housing shortage, a lack of housing in the town of Jackson. And so we started to think like, as an employer of so many different employees in a relatively small community who owns multiple different businesses, how can we really create this like community centric approach that benefits our guests as well as us and our overall like perception in the community? Because I think so much of vacation rentals problems is the community perception. So, this is how we got here. This is where we are now, and I'm going to dive into what we're doing now to make an impact on the community and really alter that negative perception of vacation rental companies. So, as this expansion really evolved, we realized how much this diversification really impacted the guest experience in a positive way, right? Like, we were able to have more control over the overall experience because we owned a rather large, for our community, book of business. We were able to control the cleanings because we owned the cleaning company, and all of our cleaners were employees, W-2 employees that made a livable wage and had access to health insurance. And so the churn of these employees was much smaller than it was previously when they were contractors. And we were able to kind of keep these employees engaged more so than if they were kind of in and out and there was a lot of training that needed to happen. For Terrain, our snow removal and landscaping company, we've been able to control the overall experience that our vendor provides, right? So if there's a larger snowstorm, rather than having to wait for a vendor that we don't really know too well to come at the very end of the day, and then maybe our guest's driveway didn't get cleared off in time, we have more control over that experience. So not only is it creating more safety during a pretty insane season for us where we ensure that we're sanding and plowing and blowing the snow at an appropriate time and really prioritizing those outpost guests. And when we purchased the roasting company and started the cafe, it really was an opportunity for us to overall control the experience of what we were putting in unit in terms of local goods. So now the coffee, for example, we have direct control over the blend of each coffee, the roast, what the branding looks like. And then we also can provide and do provide a little incentive for our guests to spend time at our coffee shop, which really benefits both businesses. So, this is kind of where this community, like guest experience synergy, all comes together. And it started with our values. So, three of our most important core values are respecting our community and the mountains that surround all of us, preserving the overall integrity of our town that's been here for a very long time and is in a very delicate environment, and then empowering our guests to do the same. So, when it comes to overall community engagement, that is one piece of the puzzle that's incredibly important to us. So I think this really starts with supporting local nonprofit organizations. For example, we have a nonprofit organization that is called the JH Housing Trust. And they work to provide affordable housing to people that live in Jackson that have historically not been able to afford to live in a house here. And myself being one of them, I have not had access to the JH Housing Trust, but like Clark and I, he owns a business and I run a business, and we still can't afford to buy a house in Jackson. Like, it is just an incredibly expensive community to live in. So we decided that giving back to the housing trust was going to be a first step for us. And we do so through our cafe, where we donate 1% of sales to for every single transaction to the housing trust. And that allowed us to really like change some of the perception. And I know Rachel Allday, who I obviously fangirl over in every single episodes, does the same with Abode. And building these relationships with local nonprofit organizations, we sponsor a large amount really focused on the youth of our town as well, and getting them out in the mountains and experiencing the environment that we have surrounding us helped kind of tweak this perception of vacation rental companies as doing a lot of taking and not a lot of giving. And then our relationships with local businesses in general. So, for example, we put gift cards in all of our properties to our coffee shop. We sponsor a whole lot of local events in our community. And that can either be through like an in kind donation via a stay through Outpost, an in kind donation through one of our other companies, or just a check that we'll write to a specific event. And we set aside money in our budget every single year for these donations, these contributions into other nonprofits. And then we also support our local businesses by including them in all of our guest like know before you go information. So local recommendations, I should say, in our guest portal before a guest checks in. If you're looking for restaurants to go to, here's what we recommend. And we really focus on all locally owned businesses that will really push our guests to support those entities and ultimately drive them additional revenue. And again, like we love it here in Jackson and we want to protect where we live, but we also want everyone else in our community we want them to know that we care deeply about our community. And although we have thousands of guests come in and cause a lot of traffic and sometimes not treat the community so well, we want to say that we've done everything we could to educate them and provide them the tools that they need in order to support all of our businesses. Ashley, I'm so excited to have you back again for InHaven Insight number 6. I can't believe that we've been doing this for 6 weeks now. I never want it to end. What do you have for us today?
Hi, Megan. So, as you know, InHaven is committed to setting quality standards for the bed, bath, and kitchen, the essentials in the vacation rental industry. And so, we really help hundreds and hundreds of professional property managers that represent over tens of thousands of listings set standards for these highly consumable areas of the home that don't necessarily need to be differentiated from a design perspective. And so, you might be wondering sort of what questions do we get asked when property managers come to us to learn more about InHaven? And one of the most biggest emerging trends that we're seeing today are about formal linen programs. How do I implement a linen program? And linen programs can be awesome because not only do they help you standardize what's in each of the homes so you don't have different assortments or different types of linens in each of your properties, but it also can be an awesome new revenue stream for property managers.
I, for one, am a major fan of linen programs myself. I would have like an I love linen programs shirt and I recommend them to every single person in the world. And it sounds like you're helping make that significantly easier, that implementation. So, how is InHaven helping property managers implement this?
Yeah, so we really help property managers by one, defining what that land program looks like from the sheeting to the pillows to the mattress pads to the towels. And then we've created tools to help manage these linen programs. So, we have tools that help summarize owner costs and what that breakdown could be. So, really, we're here to not only help you define those linen programs, but also help you easily manage those linen programs as you roll them out to your owners.
I cannot recommend InHaven and a linen program enough. Both are incredible. So, Ashley, if people want to learn more about a linen program and InHaven in general, how do they reach out to you?
Yes. So please do reach out to me at ashley@inhaven.com or visit our website and sign up to start shopping. We're here to support you, professional property managers, and really help you gain a lot of operational efficiencies and new revenue streams through these linen programs.
Thank you so much for being here, Ashley. I can't wait for the next insight.
Thanks, Megan.
So, another one of those tools and resources is becoming a member of your local chamber of commerce and attending those meetings, communicating pre and during and post the guest day, and requesting feedback and sharing community information. So, what that looks like for us is we put FAQs on our website, and these FAQs are strictly about how to treat our community. So, we're in an area with a lot of wildlife. So we give a guide, obviously, disclaimer, if something happens, we're not liable. But if you approach wildlife, this is what we suggest. If you're walking through town, this is the etiquette that we suggest. Recycling is really big in Jackson. We always recommend that you bring a reusable water bottle rather than a plastic water bottle because we're really into protecting the environment, as everybody should be. But these tools and resources and this overall guest education, I mean, listen, you're going to have guests that don't care one way or the other always. Like that's just a part of it. But doing our part to ensure that they have all the facts, We explain what the big 5 is here in Jackson. So that is snow pants, a snow jacket, snow boots, a hat? Yes, I wanted to say a helmet, that's not right, and then I forgot the word for hat. A hat and gloves. So, the big 5, especially if you're bringing children, make sure that you have the big 5 with you in the winter time to ensure that everybody in your family is safe, and really, like, this honestly has been great because the guests very much appreciate it, especially those who have never been to Jackson before, and they wanna live like a local, and that's really the vibe that we're going for, and our tagline at Outpost is welcome to our home. And so we always are leaning into how can we make a guest feel most at home? And ultimately, it's benefiting us because our guests are acting in a way that we would appreciate versus kind of coming in and treating the community like garbage. And then we just have like our good neighbor policy in our guest agreement. And that really outlines like, hey, throw your trash away where it's supposed to be thrown away. Ensure that you're adhering to the parking requirements, all the things that are in a standard guest agreement, and referring to it as the good neighbor policy really just kind of reiterates like, "Hey, not only are these the rules, this is also just the nice thing to do." And then this like unparalleled hospitality that I feel like we work toward every single day, like how can we create the most memorable experiences possible? And in a world where regulation is just becoming so much of our daily jobs, we're trying to build a company that centers around supporting the community that will help us fight these battles and create like an overall lasting experience for our guests. And so as we face this exhaustion and this negative perception of us, we kind of go back to our core, which is these are all the things that we are doing to support our community. And here's what we're doing to integrate and assimilate our guests into our community. And then we share that with the Chamber of Commerce and with our local officials when regulation does come up. And we have a voice in these meetings to say, like, hey, we actually are making a difference here. And I think the piece here, like the takeaway, is aligning your business practices with your core values and your community needs. Like, if you're doing that and whatever that looks like for you, this will enhance your guest experience no matter what. And it will also positively impact your town, which is most important. So, overall, like what this has done for us on a regulatory and economic impact level. So, I mentioned earlier, we have about 250, a little over employees across all of our entities. And our portfolio businesses have really given a lot of growth opportunity to other employees. So, for example, we just recently promoted an employee from being a manager at one entity to being a director at another entity. And we're able to kind of assess our employees' strengths and where they fit the best and feel happiest and move them between our companies that's in a way that's benefiting both of us. So this has led to a lot of retention and also over the last gosh, I want to say it's now been 2 years Rachel and I and several other vacation rental managers, I talked a little bit about this when John and Trevor from Top Key were here, formed the Jackson Hole Lodging Association. It's actually formed a long time ago and then COVID happened. So kind of revisited the Jackson Hole Lodging Association. And the purpose of this is to build relationships with other vacation rental companies in Jackson, but also really help with that perception, right? Like this alliance has allowed us to speak as one voice when addressing our officials, especially when it comes to regulation. And we have built a lot of relationships internally and have shared information back and forth. Like, even as competitors, it's been actually really great to communicate with people who are in the same place as we are and give us this ability to ask questions. And we're all very open with our answers. Like, here's what we're doing with our guest fees. Here's an issue that we had with a homeowner. Here's something we tried that didn't work. Here's our tech stack and why it works for us or why it doesn't. And we've also built relationships overall with the town council and just other figures that have prominence in our community, like our local realtors, and providing information to them really on the data side has been really helpful and just kind of bridging this gap between all of these figures in our community with the same mission, which is we all want to live here and we all want to make this place better. So, how can we do so? And then again, this economic and regulatory impact, we've made a significant economic impact on nonprofits in the area because of our donations, which overall, I think, when it comes to JHLA, the Jackson Hole Lodging Association, or future regulation, being able to have these relationships with nonprofits who do have a voice in our community is so helpful because we can go to the JH Housing Trust and say, hey, we've had this relationship over the last 3 years. We're facing this regulation. Would you be willing to come to a meeting with us and speak with us on our behalf? And that has really, really, really been beneficial. Okay. I feel like I've been talking a million miles a minute, but I honestly just feel so passionate about this topic that I can't keep my mouth shut. So you're like, Megan, I've been listening to you ramble for 27 minutes now. Tell me what I can actually do because you're telling me a lot of what you can do. And do I need to go out and buy 6 businesses? And the answer is no, absolutely not. I think that it is really like 5 key pieces to this puzzle. And the first one is understanding your local community. So, what issues is your town facing? How can you build relationships in your community that also benefit your guests? Can you offer discounts or specials to local businesses? Can you set aside additional funds to donate to your local nonprofits? Can you sponsor an event that happens annually in your town? I know Lance and Elaine Stitcher, we were just talking about this. There was something in their town that they were a part of. I'm not giving any details, but just trust me on this, okay? Lance is probably listening, being like, that's actually not right at all. Um, okay, number two, curating local experiences. So I recommend here partnering with a local guide, for example, that you can have a relationship with where maybe your guests get 10% off a guided trip around your town. Or if you're in Savannah, Georgia, and you do ghost tours or whatever this may look like for you. And the providing curated local goods in your welcome package, like I'm a huge fan of Sojo, for example, right? But it kind of takes away this local goods. So how can we implement something like Sojo that's like a branded amenity that really looks very high end, high touch, while also local goods in our care package to guests and to homeowners for that matter, and really support those local places and allow guests to kind of try a local coffee and then want to go to the local coffee shop while also providing these like branded high end amenities. So I think it's a mix between the two. Number three, I would say to lean on technology. Always, like, I'm a huge stan for technology, I talk about this all the time, no matter what, like, the position that we're in now compared to 10 years ago, we have so much tech at our fingertips that are going to improve processes. Utilize a digital guest book, a guest app, a guest portal, obviously an owner portal, anything you can do that allows you to easily curate these experiences in a more seamless way that is helpful for your guests and also provides trackable data, which I think is really important in the grand scheme of things. So, number four, I would recommend, honestly, maybe more than anything, communicating with your team why it's important to you to give back to the community and be transparent about the fact that the perception of vacation rentals all around the world can be very negative, especially when it comes to overall housing and just damage to the community and traffic. And so, doing the best you can to really shift that perspective to, hey, we're supporting local businesses and our economy, and our bed taxes are creating great things for all of us here. And also, in addition to that, we're providing revenue to all these other local businesses. And here's why it's important that our focus is on building this community up. And then also, when hiring, find people that have that same shared passion as well. And I know that this can be pretty hard to do, especially when you're kind of desperate to get some bodies and you're very busy, but just kind of communicating that in your hiring process and then reiterating it in your team meetings and core values, and then listen to your team's feedback. What do they think that you can do better and help them make their job a little bit more efficient, right? Like if you need to promote a local guide and that's now part of your guest experience and it's going to add one more step to the overall process, like providing them with technology and processes that make it more efficient to support those local businesses. And then also giving your employees perks at your own company as well as other local businesses too. Take a shot every time I've said local business. And finally, last but not least, I always say this: measure your impact, make adjustments, pivot, okay? Collect and respond to reviews no matter what. Don't ever be afraid to pivot one partnership that you have now or one nonprofit that you've decided to donate to and now you wanna change your mind, like, it's never too late to pivot, and, I think that that's the key to everything, right? Like, especially when you're trying something new. And overall lessons that I have learned in general, just in this crazy couple of years, the first one is just adapting to this ever evolving guest need and owner need for that matter. They change all the time. And, community needs change as well. Like, unfortunately, we live in a place where forest fires could potentially be detrimental to our community. And if that ever became a reality for us, we would immediately need to pivot and focus all of our resources on that and providing relief in the best way that we could from an economic perspective. So, adapt to these ever evolving needs. If guests are going one way and they want one thing, like, really pay attention to that and focus and pivot your energy in that direction. I think it's a unique business that we're in, and I think tech businesses in general where things change very rapidly and needs change rapidly, and you can't do the same thing that you've always done. And it sounds simple, but I think that's pretty profound. Balancing expansion with sustainability. We are a company that moved incredibly fast and we bought a lot of businesses in a short amount of time. And I do think that there is this healthy balance between growth and sustainability. I think growth mode is very important where no matter what, as a company, like, you might be growing, bringing on a lot of homes. Maybe you're buying another company and you've just expanded really, like, exponentially. And so take a breath and do so in a way that gives your team the opportunity to refine their processes and make sure that you're integrating all of this new growth in an effective way. I think that sustainable growth is important, right? Because no matter what, you need to weather through this storm, and it's a lot of times you don't have your skis underneath you before you go and you try to make another adjustment and another growth change. So, I think move quickly, but also sustainably and deliberately. Invest in your people always, 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 always. It is consistently worth the investment. Invest your time, invest money, and invest opportunity. It will pay off. And there are always going to be those employees that don't have the same values as you do. And that's going to happen no matter what. But there will be a hell of a lot of employees that do and really shine. And that is just the best feeling in the world. And then keep the big picture in mind. I think that it can be really distracting to focus on multiple strategies at any given time, and I speak a lot to this too, but ultimately, like, what is your big picture, right? Like, we wanna create a badass experience, we wanna retain guests and owners, we wanna take care of our community, and we want our guests and owners to do the same, and we wanna make sure that this beautiful place we live in can last for years to come and that travel is not gonna be threatened here. That is our big picture. So, is everything leading to this bigger picture, right? And of course, to make money, right? We're a business. Okay, that was really fun. I, like, went at it. I had so many notes, so thank you for bearing with me, but I find that topic to be so interesting, and I just am always it's honestly, like, the same with VRMA, the association, right? Like, it's so much of it is perception and what you can do on the inside to change that perception and make a difference and an impact, and that is what we're all here to do. So I hope you took something away today. And if you have any suggestions, please share them with me and I will feature them on the next episode. I thank you guys so much for listening. So much fun. I had a lot of bloopers today. So I am very sorry to Kelsey in advance. Have an amazing Tuesday. I hope you're listening on a Tuesday because that means you're listening on this day that it came out. And vote for me. Okay. Bye.